Hi, my name is Sam Milner and I'm a Tree Health Officer for Natural Resources Wales. I carry out field surveys and take samples for quarantine pests and diseases across Wales. This video rounds off a series of observatory videos by discussing how the information you collect is actually used, for example, when returning to a tree of interest. This video will explore the final learning objective of returning to a tree using information recorded previously by yourself or others. It also discusses the ways to make your reports more accurate, which will make returning to trees easier for everyone involved, including yourself.
Observatory volunteers are important eyes and ears helping tree health and plant health officers survey for the presence of tree health pests and diseases. Today, Tony and Polly have come to the Yorkshire Arboretum to look at some signs and symptoms on some cedar trees. Tony's been into reception just to check that his permissions are fine. Tony and Polly are off to carry out the survey. He's been told the trees are down the path and up the hill towards the larch plantation over to the left-hand side.
This is the site, obviously, yeah. Cedars, group of them. I hope it's the site anyway.
There are 3 large cedar trees and we're looking for symptoms of Syrococcus tsugae, commonly known as cedar shoot blight. The disease affects the lower needles and Tony is looking for symptoms of dieback, pink and yellow coloured needles on the lower branches.
What have we here? Yeah, there it is. 2 spots.
Now Tony's found symptoms that he's worried about, he's going to use his GPS to take a 10-figure grid reference so this tree can be found again.
Get a grid reference, yeah.
He's now going to take a series of 3 photographs. The first one is showing the symptoms of the disease. This will be attached to his tree alert report to help the diagnosticians understand what he's seen.
Get one a bit further back so I know where to look.
The second picture helps find the symptoms on the tree.
Yep. And one for in context.
And the final picture helps find the tree in the arboretum.
Nice bit of light. Okay.
Tony will take his notes home and complete a tree alert form.
Got that, got everything. That'll do, I think.
Once you have collected your information, you will then need to report what you have recorded. As discussed in video 1, there are 2 different ways to do this in the UK. As a recap, Tree Alert is a website for recording in England, Scotland and Wales. It relies on users inputting their location directly as a 10-figure British grid reference or using the UK Grid Reference Finder website, which we will look at a little closer in the next few slides. Tree Alert was created and is managed by the Forestry Commission and the data is sent to Forest Research. Tree Check is for recording in Northern Ireland. This is available as a downloadable app and can be used in the field. This does have a way to mark location, however it may be worth noting it comes up against all the issues discussed previously about accuracy as well as generic fields for detailing the information. If there is no mobile reception, your phone will store this report and it will be sent next time you start the application. Information will be sent to the Department of Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs and the Northern Ireland Forest Service. You can use online tools after you are back from recording to find specific points, swap between formats and to improve your accuracy. A useful one to look at, which is also used by the Forestry Commission's Tree Alert, is the UK Grid Reference Finder. You can use the UK Grid Reference Finder to convert between different coordinate formats, check your recording and improve accuracy. You can use whatever information you've collected to start your search. The most commonly used will be postcode, latitude and longitude, and of course UK grid reference. We'll use the Cardiff grid reference, which was used in the second video of this series. Once entered, this then puts a point on our map. We can now zoom in on this point, either by using the plus button at the top of the map or by using the mouse wheel to scroll. We can go further and further in until we can start making out the details of the map, such as individual trees. This blue pin indicates the exact point our grid reference refers to. However, if we were for instance interested in the tree on the left of it, we can use the site to find the actual grid reference for this specific tree. By right-clicking with the mouse, we can select that specific tree and it will bring up detailed location information. As we can see, this gives a slightly different grid reference, but only by the last few digits. This is because we're increasing the accuracy of the point. This will greatly help whoever needs to find this tree on the ground, or alternatively, to help you find it again in the future. Similarly, if you did not have the equipment to record the location accurately in the field at the time, you can use this tool to find more detailed information, such as the 10-figure grid reference, once you have returned from your visit. You can use a postcode or a street name or the town to get to the rough area. You can then use the zoom feature once again to have a look around and see if you can find your tree. This, however, will very much depend on your memory or notes and photographs of the area, how much tree cover there was, and the general surrounding environment. It may also be worth using the tool to provide a grid reference for a point of reference that you have mentioned in your notes, such as a certain point along a path, a signpost, or a particularly distinctive tree. This can help the user to orientate themselves and then use the rest of your detailed notes and photographs to find the correct tree.
Once you have submitted your report, it will come through to Forest Research via this additional verification portal box that only some of us can see. By clicking on this box, we are taken onto this page. This page lists all the reports which have been submitted. We will look at one as an example. Each tab displays the information you will have submitted. Particular importance to us is the location page. Here is what we see when you enter either the grid reference or a point on the map. Equally as important are the images. We require clear, in focus, in good light photos, one of the tree in context, one of the symptom in context, and a close-up of the symptom. A link on how to take photos is included at the end of this video. If the photos are not of sufficient quality, no action can be taken until further images can be obtained. Your report will then be passed on to the Tree Health Diagnostic and Advisory Service at Forest Research, who will assess your report, decide on further action and contact you in due course.
After Tony submitted his tree alert report, the laboratory has asked someone else to take a physical sample. This time, Sue, who is another observatory volunteer, has come back to the Yorkshire Arboretum to take a sample. She's going to check in with reception first, just to make sure that all the permissions are in place before she takes that sample.
I've been supplied with a 10-figure British grid reference which identifies the diseased tree that I'm going to come and sample. I tend to find I can use a paper map in combination with my phone GPS, which helps me find the general area of where this tree will be. And then I refer back to the records made by the person initially, along with the photographs, and I identify the exact tree that I'm going to sample. Okay, I'm not very familiar with this, but it looks to me as if I've got these cedars at the top of the hill. They seem to be the right place, so I think I'll just stop briefly and have a look at the photographs, just to check which one is relevant. I'll just check the notes. Yes, this photograph shows 2 cedars. And the notes say that it was the cedar to the south of the bench. So that's just about right. I'll go and have a look at that one now. Okay, so I've had a good look round this tree. in this bottom branch because it looks to be easily accessible, and I think I'll take a sample of this piece here because it's got evidence of some live tissue and dead tissue, and that therefore it will give some good example for them to test in the laboratory. Just popping it into the bag with my gloves on to make sure there's no contamination, and I'll mark it as being a sample, first sample. I'll put the other details on it from my phone.
In some cases, we will request a sample in order to confirm a diagnosis or investigate further. These might be for common diseases or something more unusual, and you will be asked to send in a sample. Instructions will be provided on how to package the material and send it in. However, if the report is suspected to be a quarantine organism, then it will be passed on to a tree health officer. They will be in touch to organise the collection of a sample. Once we receive the material in the lab, we will have a look at it and decide whether we can diagnose based on morphology, for example using a microscope, or whether we need to culture the fungus and then identify it using DNA sequencing techniques.
This is the cedar tree that the observatory volunteers have sampled for Psirococcus, and I can see why. You can see dieback on the shoots, which is a very characteristic symptom, and you can also see discoloured needles. The needles tend to be quite pink with Psirococcus. These are a little bit more yellowy brown, but I can see why. Sample that was taken back to the laboratory and tested and were negative for Psirococcus. I actually think what's happened here is that this is a big dense thatch of needles that has probably fallen down from above and just built up in there. So I can see why they thought it could be Psirococcus, but on this occasion it isn't.
A good survey is only as good as its report. Include any and all details that you feel are important, from the condition of the tree to access notes and the best location or direction to view the affected trees. Remember, it may not be you who returns to the site in the future, and the surveyor may have no familiarity with the site at all, so every little helps. Photographs are an incredibly useful tool for diagnosing a problem and putting the issue in context, as well as for site familiarisation on return visits. An accurate 10-digit grid reference makes follow-up or repeat monitoring surveys much easier and much more consistent. If you do not have the facility to record it in the field, ensure you write good enough notes or take enough photos so that you can identify your tree from aerial photos later using the UK Grid Reference Finder website. Make sure you write up and record your survey as soon as possible, as it can be easy to forget small details if you leave it too long, or confuse sites, especially if you have visited multiple similar ones in a day. And not finding something is as important as finding something. This allows us to build up a history of the site or an area, giving us a timeline of when a pest or disease was introduced if we find it there in the future.